In this short video tutorial, Dr. Simon Croom explains the thinking behind the supply chain systems approach to strategy.
Supply chain strategy shouldn't be an accident. It should be intentional and it should be conscious. In other words, we need to be aware of how we take strategic decisions, why we take them, and what the implications are for our marketplace and especially for how we operate in our supply chains. So we sat down and looked at quite a few case studies we've been working with, the existing literature and our own research, and developed what we call the supply chain systems model, because supply chains are total systems. I always say supply chains run the world, and they do. That's how goods get to customers and markets around the world. It's how we find products, it's how we source products. So our starting point has to be understand the competitive nature of the marketplace that you're serving. These product or service demand characteristics are so crucial. If we have a product or a service that is a steady demand, that's a very different environment to a product or a service that has volatile demand and has high expectations about luxury. So in simple terms, in some markets we may compete on cost, in other markets we compete on flexibility, luxury, quality specification, responsiveness. Two different tasks altogether. And that's what defines our competitive role and our competitive priorities. We need to know, in this market segment for this product, is cost the number one order winning criteria? Or is it flexibility? Because you can't have both. There's a trade-off between them. Having identified that for each distinct product market segment, and in supply chain we define market segments according to the characteristics of demand, the characteristics of the service that that market segment wants. So then that enables us to think about what are our strategic objectives as a business. If our business is about moving into one segment to be a cost competitor, moving into another segment to be a service provider responding to consumers, then that's going to shape all of our supply chain planning decisions. The way that we plan for speed is very different from the way we plan for productivity, plan for cost reduction. And that's going to shape how we source, how we produce, how we fulfill orders. So at a very operational level, at a very tactical level, on a day-to-day basis, we need to understand, why is it I'm scheduling this order in this way, and how am I going to get it to a customer? And the answer has to be, well, it's because we compete on cost, so therefore we've got to be efficient. Or we compete on service, so therefore we've got to be quick. Those are very different tasks for operations managers. It's often said that you can build an airplane that carries 600 people. You can build an airplane that takes off in the length of a football field. And you can build an airplane that travels at twice the speed of sound. You just can't have all three in one craft. Operations and supply chain are exactly the same. But it's not just within our own operations. It also pervades upstream to our sourcing decisions. How do we manage our suppliers? Do our suppliers understand how we compete in each market segment, in each product service category? Because they need to be able to complement our competitive advantage. When I buy a book from Amazon, or I buy a book through Amazon Market, and they're selling me on next day delivery or 3-day delivery, then their market suppliers have to know that that's why I've sourced with them. If I'm sourcing on the basis of cost, then that's a completely different opportunity. Give a quick example. I bought a book recently and got it the next day. Paid market price for it, and delivery was $5.95. And I was happy because I needed that book due to my own inefficient planning. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking at a textbook and I had a little bit of time, and I found that I could save $30 on the cover price. The book came from India. It was still only $7 delivery, and it took 30 days to arrive, which was fine. I had plenty of time. They told me it would arrive within 35 days, and it did. So those are important issues when we think about how we configure our supply chain strategy. Because the global environment, our immediate market environment, and the competitive environment are all factors that in the end are going to measure whether what we do in here with our operations, what we do in our fulfillment, and how we manage our supply chain, it determines how we succeed, how we add advantage, and whether we're successful.